and asking myself the question of, do you want to be at the job you're at? Are you actually going to stay here? Or are you going to do something that you're really, really proud of and something that you really feel pulled to? And going all in on this podcast.
The only wrong answer is to stop asking questions and to stop contemplating. I know Kevin's been told you think too much. Why are you thinking about that? Why does that matter? And I've been told that my whole life too. But what if those other people think too little?
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, number 999. These 9 habits will change your life. Hashtag Next Level 9. Today, for episode number 1000, are you asking yourself the hard questions? Happy Sunday. As always, another very special as always episode. This might be the most special episode we've ever done because this is the biggest milestone we have crossed. So thank you to all of our amazing NLU family members for helping us get here. Again, if it wasn't for you, it would just be 2 dudes talking in 2 microphones. And it is 2 dudes.
Which at one point it was.
Yes, it is that, but now there's a lot more people that listen, so we're very, very, very grateful for each and every one of you. Are you asking yourself the hard questions? When Alan and I were sitting down and prepping for this episode, we said, well, we want to do something special for 1,000. Usually we would do the top 10 lessons from 1,000 episodes, but I think we've done that a lot. I think we did that for 900, and how many lessons do you really have in 3 months? So I told Alan, I said, I want to do an episode on the hard questions. And we had somebody recently, shout out to Julie. I was talking to Julie, and we were talking about group coaching. And she said, yeah, I'm interested in doing group coaching. I feel like I'm very focused on getting to the next level, and I'm focused on self-improvement, but I don't always know if I'm asking myself the hard questions. And the questions that you ask yourself, they can change everything. I remember long before the podcast, long before Hyperconscious, which was the original podcast that this all started with, I remember one night I was lying in bed and I was watching Joe Rogan on my phone in bed. And I remember he had somebody on his podcast, his name's Duncan Trussell, and they were talking about why more people aren't happier. And I remember this conversation changed my life because they were saying, why do you go do shit you don't like? Like, why are you getting up and going to a job you hate? Why are you living somewhere you don't like? And I started asking myself those questions. I remember I started asking myself those questions, and quite literally something shifted for me. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like in that moment, it broke loose the fact that I didn't have to do what I was doing, and I could try something else. I could redirection my life in a different place. And that was a huge thing for me. And then I think back to after my girlfriend left me in 2015, that's when all of this really, really, really started for me. Because I remember when she left, I had to ask myself questions. I had to ask myself the question of, why would anybody ever want to be with you? You're super insecure, you're super scarce, you're socially anxious, you're not confident, you have low self-esteem. Why would anybody want to be with you? And are you going to be able to find somebody to be with? That was a very challenging question, but that is what prompted this journey for me. And asking myself the question of, do you want to be at the job you're at? Are you actually going to stay here? Or are you going to do something that you're really, really proud of and something that you really feel pulled to? And going all in on this podcast, behind the scenes, Alan and I are asking ourselves these questions so often because every Monday when we meet to do these episodes, we're having these conversations. And now Alan and I meet more than we ever have because we're on different department meetings together. And we were talking to somebody recently, Alan, I don't know if you'll remember this, but we were talking to somebody on the team. And Alan asked this person a question, and they said, yeah, I think about this stuff all the time. And Alan said, yeah, but you got to understand, it can't be as much as Kevin and I do because we're asking each other these difficult questions every single day. Every single day, we're asking ourselves these difficult questions. And if you have the courage to ask and answer difficult questions, your life can go in weird places that you probably never thought they could, because I think a lot of us have potential right in front of us. We have opportunity right in front of us, but we're not asking ourselves those questions. One of the best things I ever asked was, am I actually as happy as I want to be? And the answer was no. Am I as confident as I want to be? The answer was no. Am I as certain? Am I as proud? Do I feel like I'm giving it my all? No. When you ask yourself difficult questions, the hard questions, and you're willing to answer them, I guarantee your life will start to look different if you follow through on those actions. And one of the best questions you can ask yourself is why? Why did I not do this? Alan, remember, I texted you one day and I said, hey man, I am super insecure when we go out to the bar, and I hate going out to bars, but I realize that every time I go, I drink, and that just makes it easier for me. I'm just numbing. I'm numbing to get through it. Will you go to the bar with me and help me do it sober, because I know you're not drinking? That came, and I ended up having a vodka Red Bull that night. But I didn't get drunk, which was an improvement for me. But that came from me asking, why don't you like the bar? Because you're short and you are very insignificant at the bar compared to a lot of other people. That's not where your value is. You're not valued at the bar. Why? Because you're probably looked down on, literally and figuratively, because you're not what the women at the bar are looking for, probably. And I had that conversation with myself. I had those deep conversations. If you were to listen back when we were hyper-conscious, you would hear us talking about stuff like that all the time. And that is one of the biggest reasons we are where we are today. We asked why. Why did we have 3,000 listens yesterday? Well, okay, this. Okay. Why did that person stop talking to us after we coached them? I don't know. Okay, let's dig. Why didn't that land? Why aren't I fulfilled? Why am I not confident? Why aren't we winning? Why are we winning? That has been the key to our success. And if I didn't start asking myself those questions, if Alan didn't ask me those questions, if we didn't answer those questions together, we never would have got to 1,000 episodes. I've said this many times. This podcast, I have learned so many things about business, about sales, about everything, the universe, everything. But the thing I've learned the most about was myself, because I was willing to ask myself very difficult questions and answer those difficult questions. Now, in the beginning, it was very challenging. Now it's easier than it's ever been. But for you, imagine if the next time something happened, you asked yourself the difficult question. Did I really need to ego up there? Did I really need to let my temper get the best of me again? What would my life be like if I didn't have that? Would I be able to attract my dream partner if I started taking responsibility for my own shit? Would I be able to attract my dream job if I just started working a little bit harder and I tried to learn every single day, even when it was difficult? Was that last relationship that ended my fault? Imagine if you started asking yourself those questions. I guarantee your life will look different. Now, is it painful? Yes. It's challenging and it's painful, especially if you have low self-belief and you're dealing with self-esteem issues. But I can promise you it will be worth it.
Kev, I sense a lot of deep emotion from you right now in this episode.
Yeah.
And I like it a lot. And I think it's important and I think it's powerful. And I have some too, obviously, that it's 1,000 episodes. So I had a lot of things that I wanted to go with on this episode in terms of asking tough questions. And I think that in terms of contemplation, I think I've always been very contemplative and I've always tried to ask why. But I want to turn the table here a little bit. And well, let me give some context. So when Kevin started the Hyperconscious podcast, for our new listeners, I had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives, because I was very, very successful from a very, very young age. And I tried to understand like what made the difference, because I grew up in an environment where not a lot of people made it out. And a lot of people are still in the same small town and still doing the same thing. And a lot of them are unfulfilled, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I was very, very successful. And a lot of the people that I grew up with were not nearly as successful. And so I wanted to understand like what made the difference. And I realized that contemplative conversations with incredible people is what made the difference. When I went to WPI with some of the smartest people in the world, I just constantly picked their brain. I remember even when we were partying, I was always asking them questions about technology and about the economy and about their perspectives and marketing and the financial markets. And I was just always, I have always picked the brains of all the people around me. And I've done that with Kevin as well. I'm still doing that. Before this episode, I was literally like, okay, what's the level they're at? He's like, well, they're not really necessarily asking the tough questions. They might not be. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the level they want to get to? And he's like, well, they want to start asking the tough questions so they can get new results and get to the next level. And so I'm still asking Kevin questions constantly. And I think that when you live a life of contemplating the way you work and the way the world works, you start to figure it out. Now, no one has it fully figured out, but you start to master your own life. You start to be able to create the life you actually want. When you know how cars work, you know how to fix your car. When you know how you work, you know how to fix it. And it's really empowering. And Kevin had a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast, which I loved the title Hyperconscious because it means the opposite of unconscious. Unconscious means you're on autopilot. Unconscious means you're just walking through life, and we've all been there, and you're just letting things happen to you, and you're a victim of circumstance. And we've all been there for a time. Hyperconscious is the opposite. It means to be acutely aware. If you look up hyperconscious on Google, it means acutely aware. And the slogan was amazing. It was change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. And that's exactly what Kevin and I did. And I had a tough car accident at 26. My father passed away in a car accident when I was 2, and he was 28 at the time. And so I had to contemplate my entire world, my entire life, myself, everything, my job, my girlfriend, my relationship, my friends, who I spent time with, where I grew up, my past, my present, my future. Contemplate. And then Kevin was in a hotel room in New Jersey contemplating suicide, and he texted me. And so he was contemplating his world. He was contemplating himself. And that's what this 1,000 episodes Next Level University, it has grown and evolved from this place of asking the tough questions, asking the uncomfortable questions. Because when you ask a tough question and you're honest about the answer, you get the answers that you need to actually get to the next level. And I think that the only wrong answer is to stop asking questions and to stop contemplating. I know Kevin's been told you think too much. Why are you thinking about that? Why does that matter? And I've been told that my whole life too. But what if those other people think too little? What if they contemplate too little? What if they don't ask enough questions? We've all heard about a midlife crisis. Kevin and I joke and we say we had our midlife crisis at 26. And so it's a quarter life crisis instead. And we obviously have had mini ones too along the way, especially since starting this podcast, because pretty much every other week we have to relearn ourselves, relearn our listeners, relearn the podcast, relearn the business, relearn the economy, relearn how everything works. But I want to turn the tables here, Kev, and I want to ask you some tough questions. What did you think your life would have been versus what it's become?
I don't know. I don't know. I wonder. I don't know if it's too, what's the word? Hyperbolic? Too much hyperbole? If it's too much of a stretch? I don't know. I don't even know if I'd be alive. You got to understand, like, there was not a lot of happiness in Kevin back then. There just was not a lot. I was very lost. I was very empty. I did not feel like I had a purpose. I did not feel like I had passion, like I had a mission. I was not excited for the future. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And the interesting thing is that wasn't the first time I had thought about suicide. I had already thought about it. I had been to therapy. I had struggled with that. Like, my mental health was not in a good place. I think that's kind of a through line of my life, and I'm very grateful now where that's something that's very well taken care of. I'm very grateful, but I have no idea. I would probably be going to a job I dislike and hating anybody who is doing what they loved. I really think that's probably where I would be, because I would say, it must be nice, or I wouldn't understand what actually went into that. I wouldn't understand. And I think that's one of the reasons I get frustrated with people who say, well, it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to sacrifice. It doesn't require discipline. I just don't believe any of that. I do not believe any of that, because we wouldn't have gotten to 1,000 episodes. Then tell me why other people don't get to 1,000. Why? Because they just decide, like, oh, this isn't for me. Well, maybe it is for you. You're not willing to put in that sacrifice. What do you mean it's not for you? It's one of the best ways in the world to impact people. Like, there's a lot of people who say, yeah, I'm all about impact. Then why'd you quit your podcast? I don't think you are. Maybe this whole discipline doesn't work, is not working for you, because it worked fine for us. And I know the people who have succeeded at the highest level, it worked for them too. So obviously you got me fired up going off on a tangent, but I don't know. I would probably hate us. That's what I would say. If I wasn't me and I didn't know you and I didn't work with you and I didn't love you, and I would probably hate both of us and say those guys suck. That's probably where I would be.
What did you think your life was going to be versus what it's become? Like, what did you think your life was going to be?
When we started this?
Yeah.
I have no clue. I think that's why this episode is such an interesting one for me, because I've said, welcome to the episode number 20. I've said 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100. That was cool. And then everything after that was just like 100 plus another 100 plus another 100. And there's something about going from 999 to 1,000 that's weird. It's super weird. I don't think I expected much. I knew it. Well, I don't know if I knew. I hoped it would be better than what I was doing. I hoped it would be better, but I don't know. I think for me, Alan, it's always been, I realize where we are, and then I try to learn whatever I need to learn to get to the next level. Even like I'll be on 40 podcasts over the next 2 weeks. And it's like, that is such a chapter. I remember when if I was going on one show a week, I was like burnt down. It's like, I can't do this. This is too much. Now it's like back to back to back to back. Like, that's a chapter. The next chapter, that'll be 60. And it's just this weird thing of, I only know what to expect when I start reading the beginning of that chapter. I think that's probably the best way to explain it. So at the beginning, I had no idea what this was going to look like. I had no clue. Zero idea. I did not expect to be where we are listens-wise. I did not expect to be where we are money-wise. I did not expect to be as quote-unquote good as I am at podcasting and speaking. I didn't expect that. None of this. Very, very little did I expect of this, which is cool because it's always a pleasant surprise. And the one thing I will say for everyone out there, I didn't always believe it was possible. I did not always believe it was possible for me. I always believed it would be worth it. And I think if there's any emotion in this episode that you feel, it's like, I've been through so much to get where we are today, and I would not trade it. I would not trade it for the world. I'm so grateful that we get to do this for a living. And I remember when this was a dream. And I think that's the emotion, is episode 7. This was literally my dream. It was my dream to be able to do this for a living, and now we get to do that. And again, so much of it is because of you. If you're watching or listening, we couldn't do this without you. And I don't know that you understand how important that is to us, but I think that's where the emotion is like, this was my dream. And I know not a lot of people get to live their dreams, and I get to live my dream every single day. And it all started with like, let's see what happens. And Alan, I think honestly, candidly, I'm grateful for you, man. Because I know I couldn't have done this without you. I know it. I'm certain of it. And now I have the courage to admit that, and that's been challenging for sure. But I know I couldn't have done this without you. And I have those moments where there's nobody I'd rather do it with. I can't imagine a better business partner. I can't imagine a better CEO. I can't imagine a better friend. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I tell you all the time, I feel like I hit the lottery. I really do. I don't know what you saw in young Kevin, but I'm grateful you saw it. And I think, I won't ever lose sight of that. I won't ever lose sight. I know I probably have, and I'm sure I will in moments, but I always come back to that. I'm grateful, man. I'm very grateful that you and I have this amazing thing together. And I think it's also very humbling and very empowering knowing that we'll never miss. I mean, I think that's, I don't, it's going to sound weird, but I feel confident enough to say this, and I hope and I trust that if you've listened to us or you're a new listener, you realize this is without ego. But like, it's weird to know that we're going to be really successful. That's something I've never had. I've never had that level of certainty in my life, and I owe you for a lot of that. So I want to make sure you get the love you deserve.
Hello, my name's Eddie Pinero. I'm the founder of Your World Within, and I wanted to take a second and just express how valuable working with Alan has been, both personally and professionally. I think his ability to help me create clarity and maintain focus on my big picture goals has been huge. But also, and this is just as important, he's been a huge asset with the roadmap as well. The day-to-day things, the little things that we sometimes overlook. And those two things in tandem have been a huge lift and just a tremendous return on investment. And I think anyone looking to, grow themselves, grow a business or both, would truly benefit from having Alan as an ally along the way. Again, great mind, but more importantly, solid dude.
Thanks, brother.
You're very welcome.
I think, what I think I saw, I don't know how to say it all. I think a lot of people don't see intensity as caring.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that underneath intensity is a deep reservoir of caring. And I think that I'm able to see more than the surface. And like I told you, we grew up without fathers, and we're blessed to live in a free country, and I understand some of the benefits. But when it comes to having things handed to us, there was zero of that. And what I saw in you was the tattoo on your arm. And the no entitlement, the work ethic, and the no matter how painful your life has been or mine has been, it just never quit. It's been so hard. But it's been really worth it.
It's been so worth it.
And I think what matters to me, I think like the results are awesome, and it really is important. But I think effort and impact, like there's a lot of negative things that people will say about us, particularly me. But they'll never say they just didn't work and they didn't put in the effort. And if they took a real look at the actions rather than the intensity, they'll know. And it's just awesome what we've been able to do with so little. And I told people this, I say my favorite thing about Kevin is that he made so much of himself when he came from so little. And I don't want to offend where you came from, because I came from the same challenges in many ways and others, right? But I think that's what matters to me most. I really believe that. I think, there's a lot of people out there, Kev, who were given a lot of resources or a lot of guidance or a lot of books or a lot of opportunities and could have gone to private schools and all that stuff. And I had to literally scrap like every second of every day to go to the best schools and to get the scholarships. And I think just work ethic and just caring about people and trying not to be ego driven, and we could have been nothing. That's my favorite part, is that we could have been nothing. And I think we are proof that if you live in a free country, no matter what your adversity, you can build something magnificent. And I just always believed that. And I always will. And so, thank you for I didn't know I was going to get so emotional on this episode.
I didn't either.
But I could feel it coming. I was like, oh no, what are we going to do here? But I love it. And, 1,000 episodes, a journey of 1,000 episodes starts with a single episode. And, this journey, you will never hear me say this was easy. You will never hear us succeed and say, yeah, no, we just kind of figured it out and it all aligned and it was, no, you're never going to hear us. If you ever hear out of my mouth that it was easy, you'll never hear it. You'll never hear it. The truth is, it was unbelievably challenging, more challenging than I could possibly have imagined. And it was all worth it. And I think the best things in life are created through challenge and choices. And I think we've done a really wonderful job, and we're still only at the very beginning, which is really cool. But 1,000 episodes is definitely something, and it's really something to be proud of. And I remember Emilia asked me after the 500 episodes, she said, what are you most proud of? And I said, it's not how much money we make, and it's not the podcast itself. We have 500 episodes that are all focused, every single one of them, on some way, shape, or form, is about how to be a better person. Every single episode, 500 episodes, now 1,000. I'll say the same thing. For 1,000 episodes, every single one of them, none of them are about the weather. None of them are about sports. They're all about how to be a better person. And I'm proud of a lot of stuff in my life, but there's nothing I'm more proud of than that. We make great money, but I'm more proud of how we make our money. That's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of this. We have 1,000 episodes all about how to be a better person. And that's, the best thing in the entire world. It's what I always needed. Yeah.
Same. I had somebody reach out to me, Alan. I'll screenshot it and send it to you. But they said, "I want you to know," and it's very appropriate for this episode specifically. I mean, not because of the hard questions, but just because of the emotions. I want you to know that because of you and Alan, I listen to your podcast all the time, and I've been listening to you guys for years. I left my corporate job and I started my own accountability coaching, and I already have 5 clients, and they're crushing it. And I know it's going to be challenging, but it's so awesome. And it's like, that's why we started. That is the reason. Trust me, there is no money at the beginning of podcasting. That is not why I started this. I did not start this for the money. It's because, to Alan's point, we want to be who we needed. And I think that's part of the emotion for me is like, it's that. I do believe that we are who we needed. Really. I mean, Alan and I, there's a lot of weight. We take it very seriously. There's a lot of responsibility that I'm okay with having of, look, I don't ever want to miss an episode, not for me, for the community. I feel very blessed to have such an amazing community, and I know people by their first name, and I DM them all the time, and I know what's going on in their life, and they ask for advice. Like, it's just, it's awesome. I never never expected to have the amazing community we have. And again, that is the credit to all of you out there who are listening. We had 3,000 listens the other day, which is the most we've ever had in a single day. And it's just amazing. And it's very humbling to imagine 3,000 people in an audience listening to me cry on the microphone. It's very humbling. And I'm just grateful. So I really want you take this episode, take the emotion of it, take the lessons, whatever, take whatever you do from it, but realize that what is your 1,000th episode? What is that for you? Maybe that's signing the paperwork on your income property. Maybe it's going back to school. Maybe it's sending a hard text message to somebody. For us, it's this. This is our 1,000th episode. For you, you have your own version of your 1,000th episode. But the thing is, and ask yourself this hard question, have you done episode 1 yet? Have you done episode 1? Episode 1 was one of the hardest ones I've ever done because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But it led to everything that we have today. And the question I had, I think at the beginning was, are people going to laugh at me? Are people going to take this seriously? And I just did it anyway. And I'm very, very grateful I did. And it's just wild. It's very wild. In closing, sir, anything?
Well said.
Thank you.
The only thing that really I want to make sure I say is stop underestimating what you're capable of in the long term. Mathematically speaking, you are capable of so much in the long term, but in the short term, like, there's not a lot that any of us are capable of, right? Like, so, you can't start a global podcast tomorrow, but you can start a podcast tomorrow that becomes global over time. See how just believe in yourself more in the long term. You take a chance on believing what's possible more long term, and make sure you get people in your corner. And I think no matter what your past has been, no matter how hard it's been, you have a spotless future, and you can create whatever future you want if you get around the right community and you get the right guidance. And I think what I'm also most proud of, I know how you feel, Kev, because Emilia, my relationship with Emilia, this podcast, I did see all of this for us, and I did believe this was all possible. And yes, it's been more challenging than I anticipated. But like my relationship with Emilia is beyond what I ever thought was possible. And so I understand what that feels like. And your future is probably brighter than you think if you put in the work and make better choices. You don't have to change your entire life in one day, but you can choose one day and do one thing differently, and it compounds a lot quicker than you think. I mean, 5 years ago, Kevin and I, none of this existed. 16-person team, 125 countries, 500,000 listens, thousands episodes, 24 different departments, 25 clients, group coaching, live events, retreats in Maine. None of this existed 5 years ago. None of it. And we all started just like all of you, which is, let's do an episode. And Kevin was like, hey, I'm going to be your first guest. Like, let's do this thing. When are we going to do this thing? And then I was his first guest, and he said, welcome to the mother effing hyperconscious podcast. And people laughed at us, and they made fun of us, and they said, why would you quit a job making that much money? We dealt with all of it. And here we are, and it's awesome. And I'm still, like I always was, excited for the future. And I think that you have a bright future as long as you're willing to work today. If you're not willing to work today, I don't believe you have a super bright future. But that's because I think all of us need to put in the work on ourselves and to build a better future and build a better world. I think let all of us sweep our own porch, and the whole world will be clean. I do believe that all human suffering can be solved through the integrity of the individual. You know, if you create a fulfilling life, it'll inspire others to do the same, and that's how this whole world's going to change. So anyways, that's what I've got.
It's beautiful. Next Level Nation, if you are out there and you have thought about reaching out to Alan or myself and you thought, okay, I don't want to bother them. This is stupid. I'm embarrassed. They're not going to answer me. The only thing I have, the only small request is please do. If you ever feel stuck, you feel lost, you need something answered, you have a question, whatever it is, please reach out to Alan or myself. We love hearing from the community. We love making friends with the community. And again, at the end of the day, the reason we do things the way we do, the reason you've never and will never hear an ad on this podcast, even though we're losing thousands of dollars, like there's reasons. And the biggest reason is you. You're the reason we don't do things in certain ways, and you're the reason we do things in certain ways. So please, please, please do never hesitate to reach out to us if you ever have any questions or, share the podcast, whatever. Just we're here. We're here. Please reach out if you ever need anything.
We love to hear from our listeners. Please reach out. Business, brand, community. Community is such a core value of everything we do. Speaking of community, Next Level Live is coming up. It is October 1st. Am I correct on that, Kev?
I'll get you.
Thank you, brother. You're going to meet like-minded individuals, like-minded dream chasers who also want to get better every day, who want to get to their next level. You're going to have an opportunity to get outside your comfort zone and fear chase. You're going to meet us. You're going to meet the team. You're going to be in an environment that quite literally, there's something about going to the concert versus just listening to the song on Spotify. These environments can change the way you see yourself, can change the way you are, and they can transform you. I remember after Kevin and I went to High Performance Academy, we met Anthony Trucks there, and I messaged him on Facebook afterwards, and I said, I feel so weird. He said, of course you do. You transformed, and then you went back to an old environment, and you haven't changed that environment to suit the transformation that you've had. These events are supposed to do that. You're supposed to feel a little weird after them, but that's because you've transformed. It is way more affordable than you think. We make sure it's super affordable so our listeners can come. It's a beautiful hotel, free parking right underneath the hotel. Take the elevator up and you're there. The team will be there to answer any questions that you have. The link is in the show notes. Please check out the landing page. We are only selling 50 tickets to this event, and there will not be another one for an entire 6 months. We're only doing these every 6 months because we tried to do more than that, and we were... let's just say we were losing focus on some other very important things. So do not miss out on October 1st.
October 1st is correct.
Awesome.
Next, you're very welcome. Next Level Nation tomorrow, and this is going to be weird, for episode number 1001, we start all the way over again. Don't pass your traumas on to others. We all have experiences that we've dealt with. We all have circumstances, we have traumas, we have pains, we have fears. It's our job as human beings to make sure that we do not pass those on to the next generation or to our friends or our family or the people that we care about. So we are going to go deep into that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for 1,000 wonderful episodes. Here's to, I guess the next milestone will probably be 5,000. So that's going to take a bit. But again, we're grateful for having the best community in the world. And that's one of the biggest things I didn't see. I did not foresee the amount of love that we get and the amount of love we're capable of giving back. So I'm very grateful. And NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.